Now, if you say I sit straight like this, I can't.
Good evening, Dumelang, Sanbonani.
Dumela.
Can you hear me properly, Poto?
I can hear you very clearly, Johnny.
Thank you. Let's do first things first. Re dumedise ba nkileng nako ya bona to come and watch this historic and groundbreaking live stream celebrating one of the legends, one of the unsung heroines of the liberation struggle of Azania, Bebe Urbania. We thank you all as part of the PAC Information and Publicity Secretariat for having taken your time to join us tonight. In those words, we say, Izole
Africa.
Africa.
Izweletu.
Long live the undying spirit of Mama Bebe Urbania Mothopeng. Long live.
Long live.
Halala to the sacrifices made by Uncle Zeph and Bebe Urbania Mothopeng. Halala.
Halala.
On that note, thank you very much, Comrade Seko. I am Katalo Molangwa, even though my surname is not reflecting on the screen at the moment. And with us tonight, we are very, very pleased to have a grandson of one of our uppermost leaders of Pan-Africanism, not only in Azania, but in Africa and the world. We have with us Zeph Mothopeng, who we are going to have tonight as a guest to share uh, his own experiences as a family member of the Mothopeng family and as a comrade, as a friend to a lot of us. Uh, and we are very grateful that Seko, you are here tonight to help in putting forward and carrying the legacy of the Mothopeng family and the PAC of Azania at large. In doing so, I will put up a picture of Seko. Once he tells all of us a little bit about himself. Seko, welcome.
Izweletu,
Africa,
Africa.
Zulu.
Thank you so much, Tapelo. And may I take this opportunity to thank you for having made this happen. And also thank all those who also assisted to make this particular program to happen, so that the world should start having awareness of my grandparents, Mothopeng, as Uncle Zeph and BB Mothopeng. And yeah, me being the grandson, I'm very honored to be, on this particular program.
Thank you very much. Seko, I'm told that my voice is echoing on my side.
Or is it?
Yes, I will have to make a plan. In the meantime, Seko, I'm going to put up a couple of images on the screen that you can please elaborate, talk about what they mean to you. Possibly you were still very young at that time, but what they mean to you as a grandson of Zeph and Daniel. So let's start with this one. Take as long as you can while I can sort out this.
Okay.
Go on.
Yeah.
Are you able to see the image?
Yeah.
Can you tell us about what this picture means to you when you look at it?
Basically, this is my grandparents. See my Uncle Lancelot, Uncle Antila, and BB, my cousin, I think, is it? And I can't identify the other two. Tuarelo, yes. All those are my cousins. I can see them there. Yeah. I wouldn't taken, but I would guess probably it was taken at the house in 8249 in Soweto. The house at my grandparents' house, yes. This, I think, indicates probably a time when Uncle Zeph was released, probably from prison. I would guess that probably in 1908, at the time when he was released, and having with the family in so, and I'm sure as the family, as you can see, everybody was very excited to have welcomed him for the first time coming from Robben Island. This particular shot is sentimental, and it tells a lot of, or it gives a lot of memories, really. And you know, this a relief to have seen our grandfather being released from prison. But I think actually it doesn't look like the release, because I can see this was actually a bit I think this could have been probably earlier before he was released actually. But I wouldn't really know. But I can see from the pictures, I can always tell from the pictures that this was taken far much earlier. Sorry, my apologies on that one.
Because he does. Your grandfather looks young there, no?
Yes. I just noticed. And everybody else looked much more younger. My uncle as well, my Uncle John and Uncle Lance as well. They all looked younger. So I guess, and Auntie Sheila as well. They all looked younger. So probably this could have been far much earlier.
Actually, talking about that, your cousin Zeph, who's named after Zeph Mothopeng, has just commented
That's right.
here to corroborate and confirm what you've just told everybody here. So let's put that comment on the screen. Zeph
Yeah.
um, says, in the picture is Uncle Lancelot Sheila Masote Reggie in striped blazer. The little girl is Nero Masote Momodu, and the little boy is Kutuano Masote.
Oh, okay. Wow. Thank
Yes,
you, Zeph. Thank you.
Kutuano is the musical conductor, right?
Yeah.
The, Kutuano is
Yeah.
the professional musician.
Yes, he is. He is. Kutlwano is professional musician who teaches music. And he actually took after his dad. He actually took after his dad, and also my aunt, who was married to my uncle Masote, Mr. Michael Masote, had the same interest in music. So with that relation as well, they both groomed Kutlwano, and of course Zeph and Neo, who also sometimes also get into music as well. But mostly, most of the time, Kutlwano is the one who has taken much passion into his music after his father. Yes.
Excellent. Thank you very much
Yeah.
for that. Um, let's move on to. Before we move on, I need to let me just while we still have John, your uncle John in the picture, make an introduction about myself. Um,
Okay.
I was introduced into the philosophy of Pan Africanism by your uncle, as you know, as a young boy in the very same house in Orlando West.
Yeah. Excuse me.
Uh, I remember you had there used to be a piano on the side.
Yeah.
And we would come in the afternoon, a couple of days a week, and you sit us down, basically expand our worldview and our thinking about the political
Yeah.
situation in Africa. You know,
Yeah.
as you know, back then, you know, things were still kind of in the process of change. There
Yeah.
was a lot of activity. PAC had just been unbanned, and it was a expected by many quarters to carry on with the work that the Umbutu had been doing internationally, including here in London. So
Mm.
it was a very, 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 very eye-opening um, experience for us with a friend of mine from the same street. Um,
Mm.
and to start seeing the liberation struggle not only from a local viewpoint, but from
Mm.
a wider viewpoint as part of a regional, a continental, and an international movement
Yeah.
for us as African people and for humanity
Mm.
is espoused in the ideas of the place. And it was a very refreshing.
Mm.
And subsequent to that, we invited him to our school to come and address
Mm.
the students against the wishes of our headmaster. You know, it was a private school where we were expected to be little bourgeois kids and not be, you know, even though the school itself was established as an alternative to the education that you found in, you know, in your traditional religious schools and your apartheid education schools. So
Mm.
he came. I remember one afternoon he came to the school with a comrade. I just forget his name from Lape Orlando. He was a very, very
Mm.
vocal. I'm, I, I'm sure you know him as well. Just that I forget his name. They came together on a Tuesday afternoon. They addressed the whole school, and since then, you know, we've been in the movement, and even before that, 15 years back, as you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
my grandfather used to live in that vicinity, and he was at Orlando High as a deputy head teacher with
Yeah.
certain children. Um, and your aunt mom must also went to school with my mother as well. So for me, this interaction has a lot of connotations,
Yeah.
which I very much appreciate.
Yeah.
Uh, in any case, let's move on to the um, second image. Yeah, can you perhaps have a few words about what was happening here.
Oh, there. Yeah. I was invited by the PAC to attend that particular occasion. They were celebrating Uncle Zeph in Orlando West at Uncle Tom's. They had wanted to basically celebrate his life, what he had contributed to Azania. And so, as you can see here with the president of the PAC and Upper and Comrade Chris, I was receiving this particular uh, uh, award that was awarded to him. I hope I can. Oops. Okay. Yes, this award that was in recognition of his solidarity and struggle uh, as a leader and took part to his community, to his people, to his followers, and the dedication of his life as well. That he actually he got arrested in Robben Island. So that's the occasion basically there. That's the occasion right there. I was on that particular occasion as well. There was also the president who had come in support as well, to bless that occasion, and he made a few speeches, and yeah, that's I think that's all I can really give. That was what was happening on that day. This no, that should, is this is there. I can see my granny, Uncle John, my Uncle John, and I think now I can see, I can identify. I hope now I can identify those my two cousins. I think it's Bibi and I can't see the other one there. I can't identify the other. I hope it's Swarelo, I think. Yeah. Here I was reading about this article. I think this article was basically talking about Mam Tuping was being interviewed by a journalist, being interviewed by the journalist at some point, I think, and they were the journalist was just trying to find out on how she was able to balance, family and her husband being in prison, and she was actually also requesting the international community, one of which was the United Nations, to intervene, the arrest of leaders who were fighting for the land here in South Africa, in Azania, um, because they were writing for what was right. And at that time, the regime had arrested these leaders falsely, so because of the color of their skin. So this is what was happening in that particular article.
Thank you for your insight. Uh, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, brilliant. Um, in fact, that article was written by Mafrika Joe Tolo, the journalist
Yeah.
from the written back then, and you are quite correct. It contains some appeals made by the grandmother to the international community to
Mm,
support the struggle for liberation. And
yeah.
having read some of the literature around your grandmother and your grandfather,
Yeah.
at some point, some members of your family were in exile. Some of your uncles and your aunts and your own parents were kids when your grandfather was sentenced to Robben Island for the first time.
Mm,
Then,
yes.
for the second time, I mean, what do you make of all this disruption to family life that your family has to endure?
Um, there's nothing that uh, becomes um, how can I put it? I think it for me it becomes it's sort of emotional. Okay, sometimes even when we speak about it, with family members, um, it becomes very emotional and very sensitive in that sense because what they were going through. You can imagine. I mean, my uncle John, my father, basically all Uncle Zeph's children, not being able to stay with their father most of their life. They were not able to stay with their father. The father is in and out of jail. They have a mother who also um, is really, working hard, but at the same time, cannot have that support of a husband. You know, it becomes it can distort you. It can really distort you to a point where psychologically. I don't think it will really, it will cause a lot of damage. Basically, that's what I'm trying to say. But uh, for us, we as grandchildren, I mean, uh, we were not there to experience that, but we were also, we could feel for our parents, and saw the frustration that they went through. It affected at a very large scale, uh, their lives as we lived with them, and or just a normal life. They were just not very normal, um, and all that a lot of, pain. It was just not normal. Basically, it was just not. Some, I mean, like my aunt could tell me that my aunt Sheila would say to me, I saw my dad being taken from, I mean, and I would peep through the window, and taken to Robben Island. So you can imagine the damage that caused in her, you know. So on the other hand, also for uh, my uncle, who at a very early age, who went blind, would not know what is going on, he could not see. It also caused damage as well. So and everybody else. I mean, my dad also left for exile, and not being able to communicate with his family, not knowing, you know, what was happening down down here. So it created a lot of frustration, a lot of pain, a lot of, as a family, I mean, the whole family as a whole.
I can imagine. I can imagine thousands and thousands of families had to endure the.
Are you set up?
Can you hear me?
I'm getting. Yeah, I can hear you. I thought your speaker was off.
Okay. I think on that note, can you hear me now, Teko? On that note here, let's move on
Yeah.
to the main agenda for tonight, which is the launch of our much acclaimed film. Um, an interview that Namikutin uh, conducted with the Azania Committee, which was a movement out of Holland that was part of the international uh, solidarity movement against apartheid. It is quite ironic, really, that the first settlers who arrived in Azania came from Holland, and
Yes.
we, centuries later, you have a descendant of the Dutch actually opposing the colonialization of Azania by their forefathers, and
Mm.
that is indeed welcome. So, on that note, we are now going to go into the film, and we would like to say thank you to the Azania Committee, Maria Bozma in particular, for her role, not only now but from the 1980s as well.
and went and qualified as a teacher. The I was born in Johannesburg from a very humble family. My parents were not educated. My father was a policeman working right in Johannesburg, and my mother was working, doing domestic work. I was very unfortunate that at the age of 5, I lost my father, burdening my poor mother with 3 children. But as I say, my mother was a house worker. She continued working until I passed my standard 7. Well, fortunately, I liked school too. But from standard 7, I had to go to college now, and went and qualified as a teacher. The kind of job that my mother did was such that she did not have to stay there. She came in and out 3 times a week, and the rest of the week she had to do washing. Those days we had to fetch washing from town and did the washing in the township. She augmented that by selling liquor, and that is the kind of life I was brought up in. But of course it did not sort of influence my life, even other children's life. We all went to school, but most unfortunately my brother died earlier, and so only 2 of us were left. I love music, and I want to say even today I'm in a very musical family, or at least I've produced a musical family. My husband met me the first time when I was at an Stratford singing a solo. That's where he saw me for the first time. He was a high school student. I did matric at Rosettenville. And within, well, I had to wait until he completed his education, and we got married. I continued with my teaching career, and but I don't think I have stayed long enough with my husband. I have always stayed without my husband, because even when I married my husband, actually I knew he was a man who was interested in doing things, and he saw that the country was at fault, and he thought he was going to get it straight, and I always listened to him. But eventually, when I understood and got to realize that he was a member of a political party, I didn't know whether I liked it or I did not like it, because we had taken a vow as teachers. He was a teacher himself, as a high school teacher himself. Well, I didn't know how I felt, because he had taken a vow he was going to be out of politics. See, as I say, those were old-fashioned things. I don't know. Teachers today have nothing to do with all that. Then, of course, I always lived in fear that sorry, we would lose our jobs. But all the same, I gave him the go-ahead. I looked after the children. I brought up the 4 children. And before long, she was expelled from the high school for the same politics as I thought. And I had to work alone. I think that was before 1960 to us. It was long before 1960. So his struggle didn't start in 60. Remember, he had to go to the Free State to go and seek employment there, work as a teacher there. And left off too because of politics. Paper called Motlabani there. He came back, and I've always been working alone, looking after the 4 children. But I must say, much as I was a sole breadwinner, my husband was not one-sided, was not jealous, because when an opportunity arose that I had to go to school, he allowed me. For instance, I went to school in 1948 for 2 years to go and do dietetics there. I had to stay there. It was not local, it was away from Johannesburg. I still had those, my 4 children, I'm sorry. And well, he, for the first time, he also looked after the children. I came back, and then he was on the run again. So until the events of 1955, Bantu education caught up with him, he left. 1960 caught up with him. He was serving on Robben Island. I mean, I'm not going into those, you know those. And what else? And I think the only time my husband came and lived with me was from 64, I think, to 68 to 76. So that's the only time when we stayed together. But even then, during those days, he would be taken for questioning at police stations. Might stay a week there without me knowing where he was, without me being allowed to visit him, and it went on like that. So that, well, we suffered a lot of frustration. My family suffered a lot of frustration, and I always feel sad that there's not even one of my children who has got a high school education, you know, like at least their father. No university student. I was working alone, I couldn't get scholarships. Everybody just went shun, oh, politics, no scholarships. We couldn't get it. So that's the kind of life we led.
What year was your husband condemned?
Condemned this time.
What year was the last?
It was 79. 79 years. It was 7 years now. He was condemned for 30 years and 2 counts, working them concurrently, 15 years. Now he's just completed 7 years now.
Still to go.
He still has got 8 more years to go.
Your husband refused conditional release?
Yes.
What happened? Maybe you can explain it.
The conditions, my husband said the conditions were not satisfactory, and he would be telling a lie if he said he would abide by those conditions. The conditions were with that he must give up a policy.
You can't set your husband free?
Complaints from
Campaigns.
or campaigns. Not that I know of, not from within the country where I stay. Yes, I haven't heard people rise and stand up to say he must be released.
Your husband refused conditional release?
Yes.
What happened? Maybe you can explain it.
The conditions, my husband said the conditions were not satisfactory, and he would be telling a lie if he said he would abide by those conditions. The conditions were with that he must give up politics. He must go and settle and think of his old age. He must have nothing to do with school children. And not even to give advice to anybody concerning politics and so on. But well, he felt he couldn't, and it shouldn't have been a conditional, because well, I suppose he couldn't go back. He started the thing, and he couldn't see himself going out of it until he had achieved what he thought his aim was. So he'd rather stay there and complete his sentence. Let me take the Bantu education. When the Bantu education, shall I say, was inaugurated, the people felt very delighted about it. The teachers were happy. The students were very happy. But to put it into practice was not the thing. It was a different thing altogether, because the same people who were happy with the discouragement of the Bantu education, instead of coming together and saying, what can we do now to improve on this education, they didn't do that. Instead, the learned people, the doctors, the teachers, removed their children from the schools and sent them to private schools, because those days the schools, of course, belong to the government or to the church. They removed them from the schools, sent them to neighboring countries like Swaziland and so on. So then we felt it was a battle lost, because it didn't save, it didn't help the situation of how to solve that thing. But it didn't end there, because there it is today. The children have taken it up. The children felt the parents and the teachers, well, were just quiet about things. The children felt, I mean, they're feeling now, I'm saying a thing of today, the children are feeling that they have no leader. Their leaders are in jail. People who inaugurated this education system against this education system. Now, so what else can they do? They want better education. So they became arrogant, and they just refused to go to school. That is why they do not go to the classrooms today. That's why even when examinations have to be set, they just refuse to go and write, and they will just roam about. So we feel the children have got the spirit of it all. And well, then because the government now perhaps not knowing what step to take now, brought in the police, brought in the soldiers, but then still that does not help, because all it means is that children die in numbers. Teachers are threatened. The homes are burnt down. But I think the children are getting a better education. So I think the system should be collapsing, in my opinion, because the children are getting what they wanted. At least, I don't say they've got it, but they're still there. Yes. And hence now the parents come in, the women organization and other organizations come in to put in a hand.
So you talked about the children. So you're not angry as a former teacher that the children are rebellious?
Well, I am not angry. Most of that, my own children didn't get that education, and I feel if mine didn't get it, others must get it. And we have fought so long, my husband and I as teachers were fought through this education system at last, but somebody has seen through it, and I think they will succeed. So I don't feel bad when they fight and they refuse the exams. But I think it is just a question of time. They are just fighting a battle, and it's just temporary, because in the end of it all, children must be educated. They must go to school, because how do they hope to fight a battle? How do they hope to become prime ministers and occupy positions in the society if they are not educated? Because they say they want the land is theirs, but now what will they do now if other people who knew more about the land and other things go away? So now without education, then they cannot achieve much. So we encourage them, even though they fight, teachers and the rest of it, still to go back to school. But we've got to give them a hearing, come together with them, and we talk out these things and see what the trouble is. The original owners of the land are the people the white men found in the land. Because, I mean, the white man was not there to start with. I mean, according to history. We were there. The black men were there. So we think, without details, that the land belonged to the black men. And today, the white man says the land is his. He doesn't say in black and white. Of course, he says that the land is his because he has developed it, he has discovered the minerals. But discovering minerals doesn't say he planted the minerals in the land. So it's just a question of he having experience from Europe, how minerals were being worked and that how to use minerals and so on. We have always had the nationalists say, I mean, in a small gathering, not in an open thing like that. I mean, say now, look here, people. The Englishman one day will go to England. The Dutchman will go to Netherlands. No, not the Dutchman. The Frenchman will go to France. Somebody will go to America. But then, where will I go to? And then I'm a nationalist. Where will I go to? Then we say, you'll go to Netherlands. No, but they don't want me there. I no longer, I've lost identity. I'm no longer Netherlands or Dutchman. I'm an African. When they speak of South Africans, I'm South African. So where must I go to? So we say, well, the water. You came from the water, so we'll get into it. You'll settle it when you are in the boat. I don't think, partly I don't regret for the life that I have led. It has only been an inconvenience as far as particularly my family is concerned. But as I say, I do not regret, well, the part that my family has played, the role that my family has played in society. I think even if I had to divorce and start all over again and say, would I marry this one or that one? I think I would still say, no, this is a man for me. Yes. I mean, I've seen great things. Financially, I'm poor, but spiritually, I'm very rich. I'm very, very rich. I've produced a good set of children, and so on. We are very happy in my neighborhood, my church, everywhere. I feel respected. So I think I'm satisfied. I'm a gentleman, and I still think there's nobody to match him. Even if I had to go back to Gelwood and choose another husband, I still go for that one. Yes. Yes.
Thank you, everybody, for taking time to join us and watch what was a very enriching experience. What do you think, okay?
Wow, it takes me back, man. That's granny for you, Mom Tuping. I just towards the end love what she said. I'm financially poor, but I'm very rich spiritually. So it
No,
tells you the kind of
sorry to interrupt, but that actually struck me as well. I actually took note of that phrase.
yeah,
Anyway, continue.
yeah, yeah. So he she as she was as we were watching the film, I still have, you know, good memories of her, and that's her. What you see is what you get in front of you, you know. She speaks her mind. She's very straightforward person, you know. If she would, you know, fend for her family, she would fend for her family, for her children, for her grandchildren, for, you know, and even her community as well, you know. She was a church going person, you know. She was a mentor to many, you know, who would come, and she would teach, you know, music, and you know, be inspired, you know.
Including the late
um
Philomena Kumar.
yes, yes, and many others as well, you know. And very very strict, you know. I mean, we were just cracking jokes with my auntie just I think about yesterday or day before yesterday. Even when you talk, I mean, she would analyze, you know, and try and correct you, you know, grammatically. So that's Mom to ping for you, you know.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Wonderful. One other factor that I took note of was she seemed so disturbed by the whole education
Mm,
or liberation before education mantra of the 80s, you know.
mm,
She was
mm,
concerned that what's going to happen
yeah,
when you finally win this war
yeah,
if you
yeah,
are not educated. But at the same
y-
time, she also highlights that she appreciates that the youth at that time were very militant,
mm,
unlike the generation before them, which was to a certain extent subdued, you know, from
yeah,
the repression of the 1960s going into the 70s, the militancy
yeah,
of the struggle had been very much
yeah,
subdued. And we are told that
yeah,
actually post 76, when the young people arrived on Robben Island, they became very vocal. They found the older generation basically almost had given up. And when they went into the prisons, you know,
mm,
by 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 new over there, you know what I mean?
yeah, yeah.
Against
True, true. I think
and stuff. So what's your
it,
take on the
on that. I mean, she was also just highlighting, you know, in '76. Um, when Uncle Zeph got arrested, basically students had already were out there trying to stand for what was right for them. You know, education, you know, and they were just trying to speak out and expressing, you know, and it shows that, you know, a teacher, you know, always understands a student, you know. Now, if you look at that film where she's speaking about these students expressing themselves, this is now the teacher in Mothopeng coming out and understanding what they were fighting for, you know. And she's right, you know. I mean, these students had to fight for what they actually, you know, was right for them to fight for, you know.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for that. And she also does not shy away from ukubeka iline yombutho
Mm.
regarding the land. She said it clearly that
Yes.
if something happens to a Dutchman, he goes back to England. An American will go back to America. A Chinese
Yeah.
man will go back to China.
Mm.
A black African, I don't have anywhere to go. This is my land.
Yeah.
And it goes back to what
And
I said earlier
mm,
about, you know, the the colonization of our continent. Um, and I'm very proud to see that she didn't mince the word. She was very clear to say Azania is the land of the Azanians.
yes.
Because if you go to China today, I'm sure you are definitely not going to find any black man owning land, piece of land anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
The land that belongs to
That's the, yeah, that's what she highlighted indeed, you know.
my
She
apologies. In, 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 in the philosophy of, you know, Mothopeng and Sobukwe, I'm not supposed to refer to black, but as African. My apologies.
yes,
Please carry on.
African. No,
Yes,
apology accepted. But she highlights as well. I mean, what you're saying, you know, you're right. I mean, she highlights land, and she to puts it out there. You know, I as an African, where do I go? An American can come, a Dutch can come, an Italian can come, and they can still go to their back to their homes. But I, as a black, as an African, where do I go?
Africa is my
You
land.
know, yeah, you know, you can't. You know, I mean, she even says that I don't even have identity. Sadly, so, you know, and she actually expressed it to say, you know, I don't have an identity of where my origins in terms of land. You know, I'm being actually taken out of my land. You know,
Mm,
so it becomes, you know, the way she had actually put it. You know, it becomes then, you know, sensible to say that, yeah, indeed, you know, we are here, but we do not have, you know, a sense of where we can identify to say this is where I belong, when it was actually taken from us.
100%, 100%.
Yeah.
On that score, can we, before we go into the comments, and we really appreciate all the comments and questions, just to read a profile so that people have a visual understanding of who we are talking about here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put slides on the screen. I will read the first one, and then you read the second one, I read the third one, and so on until we finish, so that people have a visual.
No problem.
Yeah, I'm at 2000. They don't know this history. Let's share it. Our first
About
time.
2000. Hey.
I'm at 2000. Okay, there we
Yeah.
go.
Who reads this? Me? I go
Yeah,
first or you go
you,
first?
you go.
Oh, Abenia Bibi Mutuping was born Malay camp in Johannesburg in 1917. Her family relocated Western Native Township opposite Sophiatown in the 1920s because the apartheid government had declared Malay camp an Indian area.
Mothopeng started her primary education at the St. Cyprian's Missionary School in Sophiatown, where she completed a 2-year teacher training course, after which she went to St. Chad's College in Natal in 1939. The first teaching post was at her alma mater in Sophiatown, and she went on to teach at various schools for 31 years.
The Bethany Girls Choir under Mutuping was allowed for the first time to venture outside the reformatory premises and participate in music events run by the Johannesburg Bantu Music Festival and Transvaal United African Teachers Association.
Mothopeng later became chairperson of the children's section of the Johannesburg Bantu Music Festival, a position that saw her traveling around training women conductors in children's choir. She studied music therapy and passed grade 7 at the Royal School of Music in London.
In 1962, Mutuping briefly took up what? A
Part-time.
I think, a part-time job with Baragwanath and Coronation Hospitals, training nurses in cookery or caring for invalid patients. She later became a family planning advisor at Baragwanath Chris Hani Hospital.
In 1973, she co-founded the Urban Resources Center with women in Soweto and Kagiso, where women received skills training in handcrafts. They were encouraged to attend night school to improve their education.
In 1975, Mutuping was arrested for politicism and taken to Pietermaritzburg. In 1990, she was elected first president of the African Women's Organization of the PAC, during which time she represented South African women in Libya, New York, Zimbabwe, and Tanzania.
By the way, this broadcast is brought to you by the Publicity and Information Secretariat of the Pan-African Congress of Azania, uh, whose website is hosted at www.pacofazania.org, and whose platforms on social media can be found on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at my PAC online. Uh, Thank you very much for that, Keko. We are
Israelite.
in Africa. We are grateful that
Israelite.
here we have put
No,
forward uh, detailed information for those who may not have known men to pay, so they have something to refer to. At this moment, let's move on to some of the comments that we have online. Um, Let us move on firstly to the comments on Facebook.
Okay.
The opening comments were mostly congratulatory. Mfutuzeli Mhlabani says, son of the soil. Paballo Maketa says, good evening. I am thinking this is a Maketa from Orlando or Juve. You know the Maketa family of entrepreneurs and business people. Davis Mutlako raises his palm to say Israel too, whereas Senator responds to say East Africa. Msimanga Moses also raises his hand in the traditional PAC salute. Elaine Roberts says great to be here. Michael Zoletu Shorter, uthi naye izwe Africa, of which Nebani Nojahole also reiterates that Africa Dolani Maxwell Neruda with Israel too. We had the comment earlier on from your cousin
Zeph. Yeah.
Tando Kapuk uthi Israel too, whereas Lucy Bugwa actually this is awesome. Thank you, Reggie. By the way, all those who are waiting, Reggie is in reference to our guest here tonight. Circle his other name is Reggie. Draven Kaput says easily too. And then Unwankantan goes at easily tonight. Her almost namesake Nkanta, you know, from non-Kanta to Nkanta. Indeed, are easily too. Shonolo Maseko, repeats an age-old slogan of PAC in saying South Africa will fall in Azania.
Ah,
I mean, South Africa
isolate.
is South Africa is a geographic name.
It's a region. Yes. No, indeed.
It's a region.
It's a
Africa, before we
region.
continue with these comments, talking about it, can you perhaps share with the viewers your experience of having been outside the country?
Oh, I don't know where to start. It's being outside the country. Let's see. It's honestly it's not been. It was not an easy road to take. Uh, being in exile or being born in exile, you don't know. You grow up being told you're South African. Your grandparents are in prison. Very confused. You look at the children around you that you're growing up with. They can look at their cousins. They can look at their relatives, aunties, uncles. You are just a lost childhood. I mean, you cannot be able to relate and say, yeah, my uncle too, or my auntie, or my cousin. It's frustrating and depressing. But also, I having to be in other countries in Africa, other African countries, it also made me to be a strong person. to learn culture, different cultures, different languages, and just Ubuntu, and just being an African, you know. That's what I would say, and share. Besides that, it was just a difficult moment, and looking at your parents as well, you know, having to run from different countries, being left alone. I mean, it was torture. It was torture. Emotionally, it was just torture for them as well, you know. They left this country at a very tender age, and when they were that side, there was also no mentor who could mentor them on how to be a parent, you know, to their own children. So it was a very difficult moment, and all that actually was contributed by apartheid itself, you know, whether you were in the country or outside the country. It was madness.
I can imagine. I can
Yeah.
imagine it must have been very, very much of a traumatic experience in many ways.
Mm.
I mean, when you guys came back from exile, you know, I went to school with a lot of children whose parents came from
Yeah.
exile.
And you still had to and you still had to excuse me, and you still had to adjust to speaking your own mother tongue again, and
Yeah,
there's that transition as well. So
getting used to new people, new. I mean, this is your
yeah,
country,
exactly.
but it's almost like
Exactly.
you're a foreigner.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely amazing. So, on that score, let's carry on. So we have tribute from Nezonwe to says for Kumkala and another comment from Zeph as he says, as children we belong to many children's choir called the 19th Game among other community choirs.
Oh, thank you, Zeph.
And Zeph goes on to say through her devotion to children's development, through the arts as well as promoting our indigenous music, she was awarded the Order of the 19th by the President of the country. I must tell you, you know, when I first met Zeph, we were at the business meeting at the Wanderers Club, you know, the
Yeah.
cricket stadium,
Yeah.
through a mutual friend who introduced me to him, and I said, you know, my name is Tapele, and he said, I'm Zeph. The first person I thought about was your grandfather. I actually said, hey, you have the name of one of the heroes of this country. And then he just
Yeah.
turns to me, well, my friend turns to me and says, ah, that's his grandfather.
Yeah.
They went to school together at St. Barnabas.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Zeph knows everybody. Believe you me.
Yeah.
Yeah, he knows everybody.
Uh, and Tamba, actually, the lioness of Azania, deservedly so.
Yeah.
And Elaine says, well done, Reggie. Obviously to yourself. Sponsor Mamukobo are easily to. Can you read this one for us?
Okay. Moses Msimang. John Mutuping and Lancelot Mutuping were founder members of Batumi Jazz Band. Batumi was banned by illegal racist regime. I stand to be corrected here. I think John was a member of all rounders with Babsi, Mlangeni, and Tsepo and other blind musicians. No, very true. Very, very true.
Oh, they actually had a band with Babsi Lange.
Yeah, they had a band with Babsi and Kanakimang
Kitleka.
uh, Koloi.
Oh,
Koloi.
Koloin.
Koloi. Yeah. Some of them, they used to come to the house, so I can, remember some of them, and,
Oh, wonderful.
yeah. And Uncle Lancelot was with, he was with the Batsumi.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think we are not going to go through everybody, but just a couple of other ones because we've got the repetitive Izoleti and the repetitive people. So
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I will just pick a couple of other ones. Moses says, thank you, Kapelo Regi PAC and Azania Committee. Tero Makepe are a very informative interview. This is a privilege to watch. Dolweni asked a question, has any of this been documented in a formal record such as a book or documentary? How accessible? It is accessible, well, on
Uh,
the PAC YouTube
yep.
channel, but you can elaborate on any contribution from your side as the Mokike.
I don't know if I want to. Well, I'll say there's a book coming. We don't know yet. And I hope I'm not saying I'm not revealing much, but but yeah, there's a book coming, and as soon as that is going to be launched, I'm sure it will be out there and we'll be able to also put it on the PAC face page. People should just keep checking on the PAC face page.
Brilliant. We will definitely do that. And we move on to CISA, then my comrade who's in Europe as well. He says, Mafriga, thank you. Isolate to CISA. Marian Bosma from the Azania Committee has put a link
Ah,
to the
Israel
guest
too. Imagine.
in Africa. Marian on YouTube, watching from YouTube is Fortune Uganda.
Forge
Yeah,
Israel too.
and
That's
your
that's one of our
auntie,
comrades from
carry on.
Auntie Sheila.
Who is Fortune?
No, he's a comrade from Zimbabwe, from the ZANU PF as well.
Oh,
He
okay.
was once the president of the not president. I mean, he was once in the leadership of the ZANU PF.
Okay.
Yeah.
Welcome, Fortune. Pambiri na Timurenga, Pambiri na Wonjo. Africa Cheki Siroke.
Jackie, comrade Jackie Isoletu.
Comrade Jackie is the head of
Oh,
the
Francis
PAC
also.
Publicity and Information Desk, Secretariat. I need to mention Secretariat because he is very particular about
Yeah.
his terms.
Need to be
And
very careful.
yeah, she says she wrote folk tales for children. Apparently, she also wrote for choirs. Where
Yeah.
are these words?
Well, wow. That I wouldn't. We need to research on that. I wouldn't want to lie. I wouldn't know exactly. But yeah, I think people who would know is my auntie Sheila probably,
Mhm.
and Kutlwano probably.
Perfect. I'm sure we will carry on that conversation behind the scenes with my brother Jackie. And Daryl Goliath says, wow, the pain, the trauma, the suffering was inhuman. Viva PAC of Azania.
Ah, thank you, Daryl. Isoletu.
Vele Tutero, and can you read this one from your aunt?
Thank you for your interview. Tseko, you were young and in exile. Thank you for reminding me. But you've done well. Family has to heal and face the devil of pain. Bravo, Liwate. God is kind. From 1990, you came back, Auntie Sheila. Thank you, Auntie She. Oh, that's
Wow,
thank you so
wow.
much. Israel to Auntie.
Is Vele to, she doesn't like it when I call her Mama Sheila. She doesn't like it. Tonight I'm
Yo,
going to say Mama Sheila.
oh.
You know?
If you wanna see Junior Mom to Ping coming out, my friend.
She certainly doesn't like that. You know?
Hey, what's up?
Yeah. Another one of the Mothopeng family uh,
Oh, oh,
is
that's my
saying, thank
wife.
you, Africa.
Thank you, mommy.
Nalebogang Mothopeng. And then we have Walter Goliath.
Walter Goliath. Wow.
Can you read this one for us, please?
Very impressed to learn this history. Oh, great. Thank you, Goliath. Thank you, Walter.
And he shows
Surety.
reality says, hi, Reggie
Show
B.
reality. Yeah. Show reality. Hi,
Yeah,
Reggie B. Oh,
showing some appreciation there.
salute, salute, salute.
Salute, comrade, and salute to comrade and
Martin.
of the anti-apartheid movement in Marianne Kuzma. On that score,
Israel too.
Africa, we are very grateful to everybody for the comments and the interaction tonight.
Yeah, indeed, indeed.
It's
Great
been really
support.
great.
Appreciate the support.
In closing, Africa, do you have any particular song that we've heard before
Oh,
about
I've got
Mothopeng that you
I've got the worst. I've got the worst voice.
we are not expecting you to sing, but just to remember which one is it that Mothopeng
What?
ayasaba capitalist.
Uh, uh, Intwenje. I think that was, yeah,
You
that was one of, exactly. That for me. That does it for me.
brilliant, brilliant. On my
Oh,
side, I think
here's another comment from Davis Mutlaku. Very, very good interview, Tseko. I can relate. Is related to Comrade Davis.
yeah, Comrade David must have also been in exile, hence the I can relate part there. And on that score, thank you very much, everybody. We are very
Yeah,
grateful to the Mothopeng family to have blessed us tonight in the presence of Seko Regime Mothopeng, Zeph Masote, Sheila Masote, Monica Mothopeng, and others who are watching from Soweto, from Joburg, from the Vaal, from London, from the United States, and all across the world.
yeah.
Et je le tue,
Africa
et Africa,
is related to
Pambere, Nachimurenga, Pambere.
Pambiri.
And thank you very much to the sacrifices made by the
Thank you.
Mothopeng family
Thank you.
over
Thank
all
you. I
these
think.
decades.
Thank you. On behalf of the family, I also send my we send gratitude to everybody who are watching all over the world, and yeah, bring it on again, comrade. I
Yes,
think this
I'm
is
sure.
good. It's time to make noise for the world to start learning the other side of the history of this country. And many other families that have not been recognized, or many other leaders who are not being recognized. I plead with you. This is like a good start. We should continue doing this so that our history must be told correctly. So
100%.
yeah,
Very well put there. And we will definitely be dedicating another session to the team to bring to
thank you.
Mangalisa Sobukwe, to Dr. Masemola,
Yeah,
to even most of the legends who are living.
excuse me.
Thank you
Yeah,
very much. And please pass our regards to the Mothopeng and the Masato family.
no, we'll definitely do that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank.